Welcome back to another edition of the GuerrerosAzteca podcast, a podcast where we talk about the Liga MX and everything going on around the football mexicano. So, for now, it is your only host, Insomnia, from the Mexican Gamers channel. And I say for now because hopefully as the weeks go by, I could get into a schedule and this podcast can become a weekly thing. And it'll be very, very much possible if the support continues like it did for last week's episode. It was an amazing turnout, amazing support from you guys. Not a lot of people watch this thing, listen to it, I guess, because there's nothing really to watch. But the few that do actually support it and interact. So, hey man, I'm more than glad to sit here for 15, 20, sometimes even 30, like last week's episode, last week's podcast, and just talk about the Liga MX, about the football mexicano. That's just my passion. And hopefully, I said the only host because as the weeks go by, like I said, I want this to become a regular weekly thing. But I'd like to add more personalities to this podcast if it's possible in the near future. I'd like to add, co-hosts, other partners to indulge in friendly debate over who's the best team in the Liga MX currently, Cruz Azul, or is it Toluca or León or whatever, that'd be fun. So if you'd be interested in discussing with me and joining the podcast in the future, then send me a message here on YouTube, send me a link to your channel and I'll check out your videos. Hopefully you already have experience, because that's really what I'm looking for, someone with already some experience speaking in front of a microphone and that's not shy and stuff like that. So send me a message if you're interested and I'll check it out. We'll see what happens. So in this episode, man, we're going to talk about the obviously a review of the past of this weekend's games. Cruz Azul defeating Querétaro 3-1 in Querétaro. Cruz Azul actually came back. Cruz Azul went down 1-0 and then they had a hell of a response. Some golazos in that game. Formica's goal, and then who was it? Rogelio Chavez from like midfield. It was insane. America goes down in the Clásico Capitalino versus Pumas. Pumas defeats America 3-1 in America. 3 defeats, three losses in a row. What is going on? Is it a crisis or is it not? We're going to discuss that in this episode. So, León, man. León, what a goal from Gulit Peña, man. What a goal from Gulit Peña. They defeat Santos at home 4-2. Both teams that are participating in the Libertadores. León came up with the upper hand at home. So, Toluca with a golazo. And this one was a golazo from El Conejito Brizuela, who is in a great moment, man. And it's great news for El Tri. It's great news for the Mexican national team that Isaac El Conejito Brizuela is playing out of his shoes, man. I saw he was destroying the Chivas defense all game long, and then till the end, finally, his efforts were compensated, and he scored a very nice goal from outside the box to give his team the victory over Chivas by the minimal difference at home, right? So I'm going to leave the Mexican national team topic for next week's episode, because next week's episode falls on March the 5th. And that is the date that Mexico is going to face off versus Nigeria in Atlanta's Georgia Dome. So we'll leave the ball bouncing a little bit. We'll leave it till next week. We'll leave that hot topic till next week because, man, there's a lot of players that are taking part in this Mexican national team that aren't in their greatest moments. Oribe Peralta just scored just last week versus León. This past weekend, just scored his first game of the season. Sure, he scored in the Copa Libertadores, but he doesn't have many goals. Oribe Peralta doesn't seem to be passing through the greatest of times. We're used to him scoring nonstop. Same thing goes for Raúl Jiménez. He did score versus Pumas in the 3-1 loss, but it's just the Mexican strikers. Chicharito doesn't really play in Manchester United. He doesn't play. We don't have to, kind of make it sound nicer. He doesn't play. He doesn't honestly play. And Mexico needs these strikers to be in form for the World Cup. So we'll leave that topic for next week. For now, let's talk about what happened this past weekend in the Liga MX, right? So Cruz Azul, man, Cruz Azul is unstoppable right now. Cruz Azul is still undefeated. They have 7 games won, 1 draw, 0 losses. Like I said, 17 goals in their favor, only 3 against them. So they're the best offense and the best defense. A goal difference of plus 14 with 22 points. They have 3 points more than the second place, which is Toluca. So both of these teams, Cruz Azul and Toluca, are playing great football. They're spectacular in this season. And thankfully for us, we get to watch them next week, baby. We get to watch them next Saturday. Both of these teams are going to face off in Cruz Azul. So, and Cardoso, man. Cardoso, Toluca's manager, already sent a warning to other Cruz Azul fans and to Cruz Azul as the team. He said, hey, Toluca's not going to go in there and be defensive, be timid. We're going out there to attack. Now, every manager says this before a game, and then at the time of the game, hey, you see the team with the bus parked right in front of their net, you know. I mean, hopefully Toluca does go out there and try to offend Cruz Azul, and we'll see. It'll be a very, very entertaining game. That's what I'm expecting. Hopefully it doesn't let us down. So America, man, America lost the Clásico Capitalino 3-1 versus Pumas. Oh no, America with 3 straight losses. America's in a crisis. That's it. That's over. The Miguel Herrera era is over, and now is the Mohamed era in America, and it's not going very, very smooth, man. So America stands at this moment in time. They're 5th in the table. They're tied with Chivas in points, but the goal difference of +1 puts them over them in 5th place with 12 points. So America has 4 wins and 4 losses, 0 draws. And like I said, they have a goal difference of +1, 8 goals in their favor, 7 against them. So America, if you compare the numbers to Miguel Herrera's, I mean, I would hate to be Turco Mohamed right now because the comparisons do not stop. I mean, he just can't get away from it. And he's come out and said to the media that he just doesn't like the comparisons, that they're not fair. But it's going to happen regardless. So he's just going to have to get used to it because they're not going to stop comparing him to Miguel Herrera. and this America team, man. To be honest with you, let's talk about the game. The first half was very entertaining, but it was also very, very lopsided in America's favor. Pumas scored a goal off of an error, a terrible mistake from Ruben Sambueza off of a America throw-in. I think it was Miguel Ayun who threw the ball in. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was Layun throws it into Sambueza. It hits it bounces, it hits his hand or his hip or something like that. And then, you know, Pumas is off to the races. They recover the ball, and just like that, Achita Ludueña's shot is amazing. He beats Moises Muñoz, giving Pumas a very early lead. And then America just went all out. It was like, did America go full attack mode, or did Pumas park the bus and did they just try to wait out the result? Did they try to protect their 1-goal lead? Because if that's the case, then that's very I hate it when teams do that, when they take the lead and then they just park the bus. They go defense. They go full defensive mode. And I understand it's not really the player's fault. It comes from the instructions from the manager, you know. But, you know, I think it was a little bit of both. Pumas kind of scored and they kind of, you know, went a little bit more defensive. And America said, hey, we're at home. We have to tie this thing. We have to win this game. It's a Clásico. And America went full attack mode. They were able to tie things up with Raúl Jiménez's nice goal. But America, same problem week after week. They do generate plays, you know, even without Sambueza in that game versus Morelia. They had some plays. Raúl Jiménez had a one-on-one versus Rodriguez, the Morelia keeper, and he's not in form. Raúl Jiménez is struggling to score goals, and it's very, very obvious. I mean, hopefully this goal that he picked up in this past week helps him, you know, boost his confidence. But Raúl Jiménez is not in form, so America, they're just struggling to put it in the back of the net. That's what it comes down to, because plays, they had them. In the first half, America should have gone, you know, to the locker rooms with a lead. Luis Gabriel Rey had a hell of an opportunity. He shot it straight to Picolin's legs, and he blocked that one. So America is not really struggling to create offensive plays. But then what they are struggling in is on defense, man. America's defense is atrocious this season. They're like not coordinated. They're like, I mean, obviously Masa Rodriguez, you know, the knee he gave to Picolin, it was childish. You cannot do that when you're in the Mexican national team. You're projected to be one of the starters in the World Cup for Mexico, and you leave your team with 10 men for something so stupid. I thought you were an experienced player. You know, experienced players can take, you know, some talk, and you give it back, but you can't, you know, put your team in that position, man. You can't do something so childish. And I understand he's upset because some of these media guys, man, some of these sports writers go over the top. You know, they say disrespectful things to these players, to Layun, man. I've heard, people disrespecting Layun in the media, and these dudes are professionals. They're heated. They're not in a good moment, but it's become so maximized. I don't think right now, my personal opinion, it might be biased because, as you guys know, I'm an America fan. It might be a little bit biased, but some of you guys might agree, some might not. America's not really in a crisis. I wouldn't call it a crisis. I mean, crisis would be what Tigres is in. Tigres just won their first game of the season. 8 jornadas in, Tigres just won versus Veracruz. 1-0 by the minimal difference. That's somewhat of a crisis, But America is 5th in the table. They're not playing horrible football. The defense is atrocious, though. But they're not. I mean, America is not playing horrible. They're 5th in the table with 12 points, so they're still there in the qualifying spots. So a crisis, it's not a crisis, but it's a slump. And slumps, if they keep going downhill, they can turn into a crisis. If the manager is not able to turn things around, if players don't step up and attempt to turn things around, it could definitely turn into a crisis. America can go, let's fast forward 3 weeks, and America has 7 straight losses in a row, or 6 straight losses it would be. That would be almost a crisis, and I could already see all the newspapers and everywhere on television and the sports shows, Turco Mohamed out, and people trying to guess who's going to be the next America manager. But a crisis right now, I don't think so. What do you guys think in the comments down below, man? Let me know. Is America in a crisis, or do you just agree with me? Is it a slump that can possibly turn into a crisis? That's what I think it is for now, but like I said, it can turn into a crisis. So let's move on, man. The Leon Santos game, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it all. But the parts that I did, I watched Gulit Peña's goal, and let me tell you, that's the Gulit Peña we're used to. For the couple weeks, a lot of these players that are projected to be starters in the Mexican national team, like Gulit Peña, like, for example, I don't know, Juan Carlos Medina, the America's center defensive midfielder, like Oribe Peralta, like Maza Rodriguez. They've been, I don't know what happened, man, but they've been kind of in a lower level than what we were used to seeing them, But Gulit Peña's goal just shows me that, he's starting to rise up there again, and it's understandable for Leon and America players, kind of, because they didn't really have a preseason. They both disputed the final. We all know what happened there. Leon defeated America, but these players didn't really have a preseason, and Leon is playing 2 competitions as well. So it could have some effect. There's fatigue. These dudes are humans. They are young, though. That's what I really like about Leon. They have a bunch of young players that could withstand. I mean, Leon, amazing. They played in La Paz, Bolivia, with hell of an altitude. They won over there. Oh no, I'm sorry, they didn't win. They should have won. Rafa Marquez missed a penalty, and then they come and play at home in León, Guanajuato, and they defeat Santos with showing brilliant football. Sure, Santos had their opportunities, but very nice goals for Miguel Sabá, man. Miguel Sabá returned to scoring ways, man. What's happening that all these players leave Chivas, like Miguel Ponce, like Miguel Sabá, and they start playing well, like Marco Fabian, for example, in Cruz Azul. They start playing very well. I think Chivas, it just shows that, how the pressure is in Chivas, because it's such a big club, man. Chivas is such a big club. A lot of expectations on these players' shoulders, and it's hard to respond, man, with all that pressure on you. So, it sucks to, let's say, if you're a Chivas fan, you see these players that were in your team, and it must be frustrating, like, where was all that when you played for Chivas? I would also, I'd be frustrated. But Leon, man, showing good stuff. I really want to see Leon and Santos, because eventually, man, as the weeks go on, they get deeper and deeper into the Copa Libertadores, they get deeper into the Liga MX. They're gonna have to choose between 1 or 2 tournaments. There's always talks that, yeah, we're gonna go for both tournaments. Leon is gonna go win the league again, bicampeonato, and they're gonna go win the Libertadores. But eventually, the manager's gonna have to decide: do I want to win the league, or do I want to put more of my attention and more of my effort into the Copa Libertadores? And I really hope that both these teams, Leon and Santos, turn a little bit more to the Copa Libertadores, man. It's time for Mexican clubs to step up, man. Mexican clubs need to stop being just so what do you call it? Localista. I mean, I don't know what it's called, man. But they need to stop just focusing on the home tournaments, and you need to gain prestige internationally. Pachuca did it in a couple years back. Not a couple. It was a good bit back. They won the Copa. I was gonna say Copa Libertadores, the Copa Sudamericana. They won it, and that gains respect to not only that club Pachuca, but to the entire league. Teams from other leagues, such as the league from Argentina or from Brazil or from Ecuador, from Colombia, they start seeing your league in Mexico and they start respecting you a little bit more. So I hope that León and Santos, and I can really see it because their managers are from León's manager Gustavo Matosas, he knows what it is to play a Copa Libertadores, and he knows what it is to win a Copa Libertadores. And same thing, and they have Mauro Boselli, players that have played and won these cups. Santos, the same thing. They have players, South American players that know what it is to be in a Copa Libertadores. So I really hope these two teams really focus a bigger part of their efforts into the Copa Libertadores instead of just the local tournament. But hey, if you can keep winning games in both competitions, then why not? So that's what I'm trying to do in my Manager Mode series, on my YouTube channel. So it is what it is, man. So Toluca defeated Chivas at home. And like I said, this is all preparation for next week's, for this upcoming weekend's matchup between Cruz Azul and Toluca. It's gonna be a hell of a match, man. I'm excited for that one. But yeah, Toluca deserved the win. Chivas was almost gonna snag that 1 point away from Toluca, but a brilliant play from El Conejito Brizuela, and he put it into the back of the net, giving his team the victory. So Brizuela, man, is playing out of his shoes. I tweeted it out, man. I'm enjoying watching this guy play, man. It truly is interesting. I mean, do you remember when he played versus South Korea here in my hometown, San Antonio? He played a great game. Sure, Alan Pulido scored the 3 goals, but if you look at the last goal that Alan Pulido scored, I think it was the last goal. It was all, half of that goal was Brizuela's play. I mean, this dude is not only playing well with Toluca, but he showed some good stuff when he had the opportunity with the Mexican national team versus South Korea, right? So hopefully he can keep it up, man. The thing about it is that the media is starting to pick up on it, and hopefully, man, it doesn't ruin it. Sometimes it gets to these players' heads, man. They're talking so much about them. They're in every single, sports radio station. They're on every sports show on television, on the newspapers. They see themselves on the websites. Twitter is blowing up with their name, and it kind of gets to their head. And that kind of happened to Julio Gomez. If you guys remember, he's now in Chivas. He's on loan from Pachuca to Chivas, but he scored the Chilena versus Germany in the U17 World Cup here in Mexico. I say here in Mexico, but I'm not really in Mexico. I don't know why I said that. In Mexico, he scored the Chilena to put Mexico into the final versus Uruguay. And then, obviously he kind of launched into superstardom, if you will. His name became recognized. He became known as La Momia because he had a cut in his head. He came back into the game with a, pretty much a huge towel wrapped around, and it wasn't a towel, but, he had wrapped his head, and he became famous, La Momia Gomez, and then it all got to his head. And now, I mean, he just really he plays some Copa MX games with Chivas, but these players need to keep their feet on the ground and just stay level-headed, and I'm sure they'll grow up to be great players, right? So guys, it's getting kind of late. I need to go study for some exams. I have 2 exams, man. I have 2 exams left and right. My head is hurting. Not really, but I really do need to go study. So I know this one has been shorter than last week's episode. I rambled on for 30 minutes in last week's podcast, but hopefully you guys can show the same support that you did in last week's. And here we go with our prediction for this weekend's matchups. Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, we have Morelia versus Atlante, an Atlante team that needs to pick up points, man. They had a great chance last weekend. They had a great chance in the Jornada 8, in the Jornada 8, and they let it go, man. Atlas dropped points versus Monterrey at home, and Atlante wasn't able to defeat Puebla at home. So it's now or never for Atlante. Morelia is not playing well. Morelia is coming off of a loss to Pachuca 3-0. They got erased off the pitch. Morelia, if you compare if you compare both squads, there's no comparison. It sounds weird, but if you compare Morelia squad to Atlante squad, there's just no comparison, man. Morelia has the much better squad. They have Duvier Riascos, who hasn't shown up, who is a disaster in this season. They have a player like Jefferson Montero. I mean, they have just great players, but they just haven't shown up. So it's now or never for Atlante, but Morelia also, I just have to believe that their players need to wake up in front of their fans in Morelia. I give Morelia the win versus Atlante in Friday night's matchup. The same Friday night, right after that one at 9:30 p.m. Central Time, Santos versus Atlas, an Atlas team that I said is coming off of a loss versus Monterrey 1-0, although Atlas didn't deserve to lose. They had a lot of balls that hit the post. They just didn't have luck on their side. And Monterrey honestly didn't deserve the win. Like I'm saying, Atlas deserved. I mean, the draw would have been completely fair, but they lost it at home by the minimal difference to Monterrey. And Santos lost to Leon 4-2. But Santos is showing some good stuff in the Libertadores. They're not bad in the Liga as well. So I got to give this one to Santos at home, man. I just don't see how Atlas can. Maybe they can steal a point or two, but I got to give Santos the win on this one. So Veracruz versus Tijuana. Tijuana coming off of a loss, man. A terrible loss at home. 3-0 to Chiapas. Who would have saw that one? I thought Farias would have everything under control, but Tijuana lost 3-0 at home. Veracruz urgently needs to start picking up points. If not, Atlanta is gonna start pulling them into that, race for who's gonna remain in the first division, who's gonna relegate. So Veracruz needs to pick up points. Perfect time. They're at home versus Tijuana, who's not playing very well. But I don't see it, man. I see the draw right here in Tijuana and Veracruz. I don't see either team being able to defeat I just don't see it. I don't see how one can win over the other. They're not playing well, both of them, and I see a boring match, to be honest with you. So the match on Saturday at 5 p.m. in Mexico City, Cruz Azul versus Toluca. This is a tough one, man, but I have La Máquina winning this one. I have La Máquina, and I give them that slight edge, just very slight. I might be wrong because Toluca is a very, very dynamic team right now. Brizuela, like I said, is playing out of his shoes. But Cruz Azul, I just see it at home. Cruz Azul has so much momentum. Oh, man, I just don't see how they can drop these 3 points at home versus Toluca. But you want to watch this game, man. If there's a game you want to watch this weekend, you really, really want to watch the Cruz Azul versus Toluca, and I predict Cruz Azul to win this one. Monterrey versus America. Will America finally get out of the crisis? Oh my goodness. I see it as a slump. What do you see it as? That's your own opinion in the comments. Hopefully you share it with me. But will it increase to 4 games in a row loss for El Turco Mohamed and Las Águilas del América, or will they finally pick up a win in El Estadio Tecnológico versus Monterrey? I see America winning, and this is why. Monterrey didn't look good, and they didn't deserve the win versus Atlas. This was last weekend. Things can change from one week to the other. But America, honestly, they didn't play so bad, at least in the first half when they had 11 men versus Pumas. They didn't play so bad. America's problem is putting it in. Is putting it into the back of the net. Their strikers aren't in form. Luis Gabriel Rey misses easy goals. Raul Jimenez misses goals as well. The new striker they bought, what's his name? I just forgot his name. Oh my god, I forgot his name. Andres Rios. I mean, they play him a couple minutes here and there, and he doesn't show much. So America just needs to finish the plays. They're generating football, but their defense is a disaster, so they need to improve on that. I just see America barely winning this game, but anything can happen. Both of these teams aren't in a great moment. We'll see what happens, man. Chiapas versus León in Chiapas, in Jaguares. I see León winning this one, man. I understand that Chiapas won in Tijuana 3-0, but León is too strong, man. León is too strong, and they don't have Copa Libertadores action this week, so they get the week to rest and to train, to recuperate, to regenerate their muscles, and I just see León winning this one without much problems in Chiapas. So I give the León the 3 points on Saturday night. So Puebla versus Querétaro in Puebla. A draw. I see a draw on this one. Querétaro is coming off of a loss versus Cruz Azul. Puebla is coming off of a 0-0 draw versus Atlante. Querétaro, I see them as slight favorites, but I predict a draw on this one. Now Pumas versus Pachuca. Pachuca with an important win at home versus Morelia. Ojitos Mesa looks like he's slowly but surely starting to find his rhythm with this club, starting to get the things rolling in Pachuca. Pachuca currently is they're in the fight, man. They're in the fight. They're 4th in the league, so with 13 points. It's very close though, because León has 11 points, Chiapas has 11 points, Santos has 10. So one game lost by Pachuca can change everything. But they're there, 4th place in the league. I see some potential in this Pachuca squad, but Pumas is coming. They're motivated, man. What is Pumas is in a great streak right now, man. Pumas is in a great streak. Let me check right here. I'm on my computer. Let me check how many games without losing is Pumas in. I mean, I think they have like 4 games in a row, won back to back. I mean, Pumas is showing some great stuff. This one is a hard one, man, but I gotta go with Pumas. I have to go with Pumas. So not 4 games in a row won, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, man. 5 games without a loss. They tied in there with Atlas, but coming off of a very important, a confidence booster win versus America. I see Pumas taking the 3 points at home, man. So the final game of this week of action, Tigres versus Chivas. Tigres picking up their first win versus Monterrey. No, versus Veracruz at home, and Chivas losing. With Chivas, I didn't like the way they play, the style of play, man. Chivas is a big club, man. Chivas has to play an offensive style of football, playing defense. It irks me to see Chivas like that, although I don't really like them because I'm an American fan. But Chivas, man, I recognize that they're a huge club. They need to play better football, and I know their fans their fans demand it, man. So I see Chivas winning this one at home, man. I see Chivas. They're slowly but surely showing improvements. Omar Bravo is scored two goals versus Querétaro in the last home game. So I see slight improvements. They didn't show much versus Toluca. They only had a couple offensive plays, but I see Chivas winning this one over Tigres. I just have no reason to believe why Tigres. Maybe since they picked up a win at home, finally the first win of the tournament, maybe Tigres can do something different, but I see Chivas winning this one. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Guerreros Azteca podcast. I rambled on with my predictions like I always do, and it is what it is, man. I love talking about this. So thank you guys for watching. A like would be appreciated, and let me know, man, if you'd like to join the cast in some future episodes. Send me a message with a link to your videos showing me that you have some experience speaking in front of a microphone, you have no trouble, and you have a passion for this, and I'll message you back, man. So thank you guys for watching. Like I said, a like would be appreciated. I really want to do this as a weekly thing, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out, bros, and as always, que viva el fútbol. Let's go.